The autocrat's playbook is this. Human beings, especially black and brown human beings, can be very effectively and explicitly used as pawns to make a political point, to own the elites, to own the globalists. Does that remind you of anything else? Maybe something we're seeing here on the state level in the United States? On Wednesday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis became the third governor to use taxpayer dollars to transport migrants and asylum seekers from Republican states to liberal cities like New York and D.C. and Chicago, to really stick it to Biden and the liberal elites and their cities that already enjoy large, diverse immigrant populations. To make some kind of point, DeSantis sent nearly 50 migrants on planes to Martha's Vineyard without informing any local authorities that plane loads of people who would need housing and food and care were on their way. He did alert Fox News, though, and he hired a videographer. And by the way, these migrants were lured there from San Antonio, Texas, not Florida. The plane made a pit stop in Florida, though, on the way to Martha's Vineyard. The migrants were misled with false promises of expedited work and jobs and housing and other services. Some were reportedly offered $50 gift cards. Some were lied to about where exactly they were even going and what to expect when they actually arrived. One migrant said a woman named Perla even paid him to help fill the flight to Martha's Vineyard. At least one migrant told NBC she thought she was being flown to Boston. As of today, migrants who wanted to go to the mainland for housing, which Martha's Vineyard does not have much of, they have arrived at a military base on Cape Cod, thanks to the governor of Massachusetts. But here is what Governor DeSantis said privately last week to a room full of top Republican donors. The Washington Post reports that in a 51-minute speech, he told hundreds of donors, quote, "I do have this money. I want to be helpful. Maybe we'll go to Texas and help. Maybe we'll send to Chicago, Hollywood, Martha's Vineyard. Who knows?" The remarks were full of grievance and harping on culture wars and claims that the libs have been, quote, winning this fight, making Republicans and people like DeSantis look like second-class citizens. He went on to say, quote, "We're not just arguing about tax rates. We're not just arguing about normal policies. We're arguing about whether people that dissent from leftist ideology should have any voice in our government, in society at all." Of liberals, DeSantis said, and they've been winning this fight for, I would say, the last 5 or 10 years. All the grievance, all the vengeance. It sure sounds a lot like Lukashenko. Oh, and by the way, this plan, at least here in the U.S., was first dreamed up back in 2019 by the most grievance-filled anti-immigrant politicians of them all, former White House immigration advisor Stephen Miller and his patron, President Donald Trump. Quote, "The Trump administration, led by immigration advisor Stephen Miller, originally floated such a plan, but concerns within Immigrations and Customs Enforcement led them to scuttle the idea, which drew considerable backlash at the time." So to be clear, even the Trump administration did not implement this cruel and unusual plan, not for moral reasons per se, but because it was risky. Still, the administration that brought you family separation at the border predicted this plan would be riddled with problems. But somehow, some way, Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida did not.